Good evening, everyone. This is Chris on IMTM Worldwide Radio, and this is Around the ATL, episode 126. It's been a while. Thanks for everybody tuning in tonight. Now, I got to get this out of the way real quick. So before I forget, thank you to AtlantaFalcons.com, NBA.com, No Ceilings NBA on YouTube, League Him on YouTube, Pick and Roll on YouTube, and also FIBA, the basketball channel on YouTube for all highlights for tonight. I want to get that out the way. Appreciate it. Also, I got to go ahead and do this too. So about 12:30 this morning, I did a test to ensure that I'll be able to do a call-in show tonight, right? Because we haven't done one in a while. So at 12:30 this morning, I did a 15-minute test. Everything worked great. 10 minutes ago, I tried to log in to the radio portion of Around the ATL. Nope, I'm getting all kind of messages saying technical difficulty, blah, 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 blah. So unfortunately, I will not be able to do call-ins tonight. However, of course, if you're watching the show right now, you're on YouTube or you're on Facebook, message, and I'll be able to read out whatever your comment is. So please bear with me tonight, but definitely comment all through the night. So IMTM Worldwide Radio, thanks for joining in. Around the ATL is one of the programs I created about 4 years ago, but I created IMTM Worldwide Radio about a decade ago. When I used to live in Atlanta, I was a talent manager at the time, and I wanted a format to be able to give people a chance to voice themselves. So I used to interview actors and models and musicians, artists, music video directors, casting directors, magazine publishers, the whole nine. And I had a really good program going, a lot of callers every night. But unfortunately, of course, life happens, things take a turn. My dad passed away, and I was kind of like not doing anything. About 4 years ago, I decided to reboot everything. And one of the shows I said I have to bring in is a sports show. That's how Around the ATL got created. I also started another show called Women in Business. So that is a show that highlights women who started their own businesses from scratch. So if you're married, got a girlfriend, you got a daughter, mother, auntie, they might like that show. So definitely subscribe to the YouTube page. A lot of those shows will be coming back in time. Just wanted to throw that out there real quick. Of course, IMTM Worldwide Radio, you can follow on YouTube, but also Facebook and Instagram under IMTM Worldwide Radio right there. Follow that. On Twitter, myself and my co-host, you see Intellect ATL for me and Jordan 23 ATL. Hopefully he'll be able to join us tonight. I think he's on his way. Also, the radio page, IMTM Radio on Twitter. Also, of course, IMTMWorldwideRadio.com. The website is up and running now. Also, tonight's show is brought to you by IMTM Worldwide Images. So if you know somebody on the planet Earth, anybody, who maybe they're pregnant and they want maternity pictures, they have a business and they need headshots for everybody in their company, they're trying to pursue modeling or acting or music and they need pictures, whatever the case, have them hit me up there. I'm doing discounts for anybody who mentions the show. You can also follow on IMTM Worldwide Images 1 on Instagram, and there is now a Facebook, IMTM Worldwide Images. I want to say briefly again, Rest in peace to Eddie Carswell. Eddie was somebody that I've known for years on social media. I did get to meet him once in Atlanta. We had an event that we met at one time, but we've always talked online. And he was an Atlanta Hawks fanatic. He was a Trae Young fan. But he passed away recently. And again, I'm gonna say it one more time. It's really crazy for me to even say he's gone because I had just talked to him a few days before he passed. So it was still just a shock to me. That's one of the reasons I actually did the Trae Young show the other day, last Thursday, a 3-hour show just breaking everything down about his 6-year career so far. So if you hadn't seen that, go to the YouTube page sometime in the near future and go check that out. But if you know Eddie, you know of his family, make sure you keep him in your thoughts and his family in your prayers. He was a really good dude. We're definitely going to miss him, especially here in Atlanta. Everybody who was an Atlanta Hawk fan is definitely going to miss Eddie. So I just wanted to say that one last time. So what are we doing tonight? Tonight, we're talking Hawks, Falcons, Braves, Atlanta United, Atlanta Dream, Atlanta Vibe. If you're a new watcher or listener to the show, we on Around the ATL talk about everything Atlanta sports and also the state of Georgia. We also do college sports as well seasonally. So we do UGA, Georgia Tech sometimes, Georgia State, Albany State, Clark, everybody that's involved in the state and the sports, we're doing it, which is why we have a new Vibe segment later on tonight that will be debuting, even though their season's already over. I included it. So be ready for that. Let's check the Braves score. I know the Braves are playing tonight. Oh, goodness. Top of the ninth, 5-2 against the Nationals. That's not good. So let's see. I want to start tonight. Let's see. And I'm kind of stalling right now to see if my co-host will show up. He hasn't shown up. Yeah, I know he's en route to get online. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and get started. And we'll get started talking about the Atlanta Falcons because we didn't do an official draft review show. I'm not doing that tonight, but I am going to go through some of our picks and whatnot. So we'll check that out. So let's see, since I'm a little bit rusty. Hey, Francis, what's going on? By the way, don't forget, you can message on the chat room. Make sure it's clean. If it was a call-in show, I got to remind people when you call in, don't be cussing and fussing. I can't let that happen. But definitely type in your thoughts, thoughts or figures in the chat room, and I'll make sure I mention them during the show. So that being said, let's see if we can see. In my head, I'm supposed to be going to the radio show part to actually do the Falcons theme song, but since we can't, I'm gonna just lit into it. I just now forgot about that. I hate this. Somebody's gonna get sued tonight, I swear. So let's do this. How I originally had it, I had the NFL draft tone, I can't do it. That's bootleg, right? But I was going to do that. But since I can't do that tonight, let's see, how can I do this? So the Atlanta Falcons this year, this is a big year, right? 2024. The offseason, mandatory that they did enough to fix what's happened the last 2 seasons, especially, right? So between free agency and the draft, did they do that? Okay. So we know the hubbub initially was offense, right? And the quarterback position. We know what happened last year. We know what happened the year before that. Wasn't good, wasn't positive in any stretch of the imagination, right? So that had to be a priority. They took care of that by getting Kirk Cousins, right? So what did they do in the offseason besides that, right? So on offense, they got Darnell Mooney, we got Charlie Warner, we got Ray McLeod, we re-signed Kadero Hodge, you got Storm Norton, Ryan Nuzell. On defense, Nate Landman comes back, Contavious Street comes back. But in the midst of all that on the free agency side, we really didn't get a pass rusher, right? So that meant the draft had to be a big deal then, right? And of course, the last few years, each year we've drafted an offensive player. So would this be the year that they change up and say, let's get our defensive pass rusher for the next decade? Well, of course, that didn't exactly happen. We went with the 8th pick and went and got Michael Penix Jr. from Washington University. So what we're going to do is we're going to go pick by pick. But just to remember, we do have some players coming back from injury. So depth-wise, that makes the team better because now you got Grady back. You also have Troy Anderson back. So that definitely helps the team. So maybe that's how maybe they're looking at it from that standpoint to say, if we solidify what we were doing on defense, have Grady and Troy back to add to it. We're going into 3-4, by the way, remember. And then we do some good things in the draft to piece things together to make sure pieces fit. Could that be enough? So we're going to find out. So there he is right there. So let's see if I can get this right. Like I said, I'm throwing off because I can't use the radio stuff. So let me see if I can move this around. So what I did for each of our picks, pick number 8, and actually let's see. There it is. All right. So with the 8th pick, the Atlanta Falcons picked Michael Penix Jr. from Washington, quarterback. So let's look a little bit at his college highlights, and then we'll go through the rest of the draft picks. And then whatever comments that y'all have after that, I'll let y'all roll through them because, like I said, usually I would be asking y'all to call in, but I can't do it. So let's see if we could do some comments. I'll of course, bring you to my thoughts as well. But let's get started with the first one.
Going deep and wide open, Jalen Polk. Flags are down. Polk will take it the distance. First and goal, Penix. Looking for the fade, and it is caught. It's touchdown.
So what did you notice with Michael? 1, accuracy. What haven't we had the last 2 years since Matt left? Accuracy. He could throw the ball downfield, which is something that Matt wasn't the greatest at. He can get it down. Julio has the yards to prove that, so does Roddy. But Penix definitely can throw the ball downfield a lot further, right? And with accuracy, right? A fade in the end zone. When was the last time we saw a true fade in the end zone for the Falcons, right? Think about the players that we have between just Pitts and Drake London who could take advantage of that, right? Big bodies, they can jump, they can leap, throw it over that defensive back, boom, there you are. However, Michael won't be playing for a couple of years, obviously, because we do have Kirk Cousins. Now, the whole thing about that is, okay, is it a 2-year contract? Is it a 4-year contract? How long will he really play? You know, the money is good for such and such time and whatever. Is Kirk going to play the whole 4 years? Like, what are you going to do? Like, he plays 2 years and what are you going to do? Trade him or something, I guess? Or is he going to retire, after we win the Super Bowl? All that kind of stuff goes into play because, one, Penix and what his current age is going the Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre route where Aaron sat about basically, what, 4 years almost, right? So is Penix willing to do that? He kind of has to. He's here now. But again, if Kurt doesn't get injured again, right, he might play that whole 4 years. He's not going anywhere, and he's been a 4,000-yard passer pretty much his whole career, right? He's good for 25, 30 touchdowns a year. So, and he can pass with accuracy and everything. But for the future, is a good pick for sure. And nothing is guaranteed, obviously. But again, there's a lot of tape out there on all kind of players, and they didn't work out. But in this case, I have a lot better feeling than other people that we've picked in the past, right? So that's Michael Penix Jr. I do have a comment already. Let's see. That's a good pick. Don't care what people say. We're building the future. So, yeah, I mean, of course, on that end, it wasn't the previous people that we've gotten over the last couple of years, right? So it didn't work out. So in this case, I think it's a little bit surefire bet that he can work out and help us long term, of course, because that's what you're looking for. You're looking for, again, what have we not had since Matt Ryan? A solid quarterback that can actually do the job every year. Matt didn't miss games. He was a sure 4,000-yard passer. Got you 25, 30 or more touchdowns, depending on what's going on the roster or whatever. He kept getting up, even though he kept getting sacked. Sometimes it was his fault. A lot of times it wasn't, right? So, and we just couldn't keep leads. Our defense just wasn't where it needed to be all these years. Again, that's what happened, you know. So at the end of the day, we have a better defense than we've ever had before over a period of time, right? So that's going to change things right there. If we had, competency last year on the quarterback end, the Falcons win 10 games last year and win the division, probably win a playoff game, right? If we had some kind of competency, but we didn't. So Kirk Cousins being here, Penix being the backup, like if Kirk can't go for whatever reason, we won't have a big drop off, right? So that's the other thing. If anything, you got a great backup for sure. Because all the other teams in the NFL that have won, they also do have a great backup, right? So that's our number 8th pick right there. Who did we pick next after that? So let's see if I can find him real quick. There it is. Mr. Rook, 35th pick from Clemson, defensive tackle. Let's take a look at some of his tape.
Pressure, hit as he throws, and it's incomplete. Punch it in here. Houston makes a cut, fights to a tackle, and is spun down at the 2.
So what did you notice with Mr. Roop there from Clemson? So one thing now, again, this is not a draft review show. Usually I would be laden with notes and things of that nature, but it's only a 2-hour show. So that's usually where Jordan would come in with the, a little bit of tidbits. I couldn't do that for this particular show, but we can do one. I said that we should still do one. And Jordan was like, it's been kind of talked out, but I'm like, no, it's never really talked out. It's football season. But anyway, one thing, motor. Every time you have a defensive tackle, it's always going to come down to that. Grady, of course, has never had a problem with that. So with Rook, if he has that type of motor all the time, one, again, the run defense is going to be even better, and it needed to be, right? It needs to improve just a little bit, right? But there's an extra person to put pressure on the quarterback to make him uncomfortable, which means it gives somebody else that extra split second to maybe get to the quarterback as well. You can't block everybody. So that's something, again, it's a matter of you can't keep double, tripling Grady. How are you going to get people around Grady to make his job a little bit easier and then make everybody a threat on that defensive line? Because the lines that can only have to rush this many people at a time and not have to blitz, now you're playing with something. Now you're working something there. So are we close? We're going to find out this year for sure. For those who are ACC fans, did you get to watch a lot of Clemson football? If you've seen him play, of course, feel free to tell us your thoughts on him. The number 74th pick, we picked defense again. Now, I will say this. Since we did pick Michael Penix at the 8, it definitely was going to be probably more of a defensive draft just by default, right? So that's what ended up happening. Please share the video. I don't know, you might have walked away. I just did for number 35. I don't really want to play it again. You know what? I'll do it for the fans. Here we go. I'm going to play this real quick, and then I'm going to go to the 74th pick real quick. Okay, y'all? because it looks like I had somebody on the chat room miss it. So I'm gonna play it again real quick if I can find it. Here it is.
Morris wants to throw it. They get him by the jersey and they drag him down. He's straight back, has to spin away from pressure. Hit as he throws and it's incomplete. Punch it in here. Houston makes a cut, fights to a tackle and is spun down at the 2.
Now, before I go to the 74th pick, another thing I want to mention about Rook is tackling. It's all gone. So one of the reasons that you have those breakdowns that we did last year is simply just tackling. Now, again, some of that's technique, some of that's coaching, some of it's the motor part of it, things of that nature. If we could just do better with that last year, we would have had so many less breakdowns when we did everything to stop what we needed to until the last moment, right? So that's something that I also noted with that particular player. Oh, my bad. So, okay, so Francis mentioned, not me, just telling the fans to share the video on social media. So yeah, if you can, share IMTM Worldwide Radio to everybody around the ATL, to other people. I appreciate that. What's up, Marion? I'm about to get to one of them in a second, but the next person is the 74th pick, which is Mr. Braylon Trice from also Washington. So let's go ahead and get him pulled up. There he is. And let's watch his tape. So again, what did you notice? Tackling, wrapping up the doggone quarterback, not letting them go. So remember, we're going to be in the 3-4 this year. You know what I forgot? Because of the radio, I forgot to go through the depth chart. We'll do that at the end of the segment, which is about 6 minutes away. Speed, obviously. And again, because we're going to be in that 3-4, you know, that push up front is going to be important, but the people who are going to be behind, being able to get in the end, whichever way, is going to be important. So that's where he's going to come in, especially. So I like that. And again, if you didn't see the beginning of the show, this is not a full draft review show where we would have a plethora of everything. It's just kind of hitting the targets of everything. But if y'all have comments about these players, y'all want to, you know, speak on them, hit me up on the messenger, either on Facebook or the YouTube page. And again, thanks for everybody who's watching. It looks like my co-host has arrived, so let's go ahead and bring him in and introduce him. Give me a second. Jordan, how you doing, sir?
What's going on, sir? Doing well. Been working hard. You know, it's Southern Classic Transportation. A lot of people want to be DUI proof with all these concerts and holidays and whatnot going on. So we've been putting in the hours and getting the people there safely, sir.
Good job. Make sure you remind me to create a banner for that, so next time you do a shout out, I can plug it for you.
Cool.
So what we were doing, Jordan, we were doing the Falcons first. We got a few minutes left for the segment. We can extend it a little bit. We were going through picks. I told everybody that this was not a draft review show. We can still do one though. But I've already gone through two of the picks. We're on Braylon Trice right now, the linebacker out of Washington. I just played the video highlights for him, but I already know you have some thoughts on him. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, sir. Mr. Braylon Trice, he was, of course, one of my, more favorite draft picks out of all the draft picks, just simply because, number one, the big need we have for production on the edge, and number two, he actually produced quite well in college, especially when you look deeper into the numbers as far as pressure rate. He had one of the best pressure rates over the last couple of years in all of college football. With that being said, still when you start talking about third and fourth round, when it comes to edge rushers, at that point you're hoping to get a diamond in the rough. Obviously, there's some physical traits missing there or something that kept the man out of the first couple rounds. But we had, even though it's hard to edge rushers, that's just a fact throughout the NFL. There have been edge rushers found in the later rounds, and I'm hoping this is the case with Mr. Braylon Trice. I think overall as a whole, the goal here by waiting, I'm not going to say waiting because we did take Ruka Roro in the second round, who I'm sure you've already hit on. But overall, we took a whole lot of defensive linemen in this draft, with Trice being the only true edge guy, other guys being kind of tweeners. They can play inside and outside, and some guys play more inside.
We lost Jordan for a second. As he mentioned, there is it. I'm gonna have to text him because I think he might. Okay, so Jordan is joining us from a location in unknown parts, and his signal are you back, Jordan?
Yeah, I don't know why it's freezing because I have decent signal and I'm on 5G, so I don't know.
Okay. Well, if anything, if you go out again, I'll text you. But go ahead, finish your thought.
Overall, I think the theme was to get a lot of long, athletic players up front. Defensive front seven type players on defense. And I like that strategy. I think that's kind of what the Rams did in the previous draft, and they had a couple of rookies produce quite well. Some picked in the later, the mid rounds. So hopefully that will be able to be duplicated. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm a little skeptical when you start talking about comparing physical traits, because the last time I heard that, is when we drafted Dijon Sanat some years ago, talking about how he compared favorable to Seattle defensive linemen, and that didn't work out quite as well, sir, as we hoped.
Tack. But anyway, one thing that you mentioned, I'm just adding to it, because I mentioned it earlier, since we did pick Michael at 8th, the rest of the draft was going to be leaning towards defense for sure. They kind of almost had to do that, right? So whether it be a diamond in the rough or they hit on all of them, we got to get somebody out of there, right? So like you said, Braylon probably is going to be the closest to the pure pass rusher pick, but we do have some others that we're going to go through. At 109, we picked Brandon Dorlus, a defensive tackle out of Oregon. And let's go ahead and play his tape real quick, and we'll talk about him for a brief moment.
Here comes a blitz. They pick it up. Deflected and knocked down as the ball crossed the line of scrimmage. Brandon Dorlus.
On 2nd and 4, and a man right in his face again.
So those who are watching on the YouTube or Facebook page, what are your thoughts on excuse me, Dorius. One thing I want to mention right off the jump is we needed depth as well this year, coming into this year. Obviously, because of injuries and things of that nature, we also need people who can make plays. So whether it be a deflected pass, right? Whether it be like an interception, whether it be a scoop fumble, whatever those things are, the more players that you have that have those capabilities, those assets to be able to do that, it helps your team long-term for a whole complete season. But of course, also stopping the run. Looks like he can do that a little bit as well. So if he's coming off the bench or even getting a chance to start a few times, that's going to go a long way as well. Jordan, what are your thoughts on our guy from Oregon?
Another real solid football player. Played a lot at Oregon. Was a fifth-year senior. 27 tackles for a loss over his career, 12 sacks, 5 sacks last year, 6.5 tackles for a loss. He fit right along with that theme that I was talking about of just athletic, long arm defensive lineman. And so what the Falcons did in a lot of cases, they may have passed on, a guy who many may have had rated higher, but didn't have the physical size and length, those undersized type guys. The Falcons pass on them, and they prioritize physical traits and production and solid production when it comes to most of these defensive line guys. He falls right in line with that, having played big-time college football at Oregon. So it's going to be interesting to see which of these guys emerge, but I like how they attack the position with quantity and just took a lot of guys, so you have a lot of good competition going on for that front seven.
And that being said, let's go to our 143rd pick, J.D. Bertrand, linebacker out of Notre Dame. Let's go ahead and throw that pronunciation out there, whatever. And again, fans, if you want to comment about the Falcons, if you're a Falcons fan, definitely hit up the comment section and we'll respond back to your comments. But let's go ahead and watch Mr. Bertrand's college highlights.
Just checks it down, and that's a loss of a yard. Plummer is taken down by Bertrand. They bring heat. Milton loses the ball and then has to fall on it.
So again, we got another player that goes towards our depth, and he has an opportunity to get playing time on this team. We'll see what happens. Jordan, what do you think about him?
Very aggressive linebacker, very instinctual, good sideline to sideline, attacks the football, is not afraid to get in there and just, sacrifice his body to make the tackle. The pick was a bit of a curious one for me, though, just because I kind of thought that was one of our stronger positions on defense, that inside stand-up linebacker, especially with us having 3 guys who have basically started for us there, Caden Ellis, Nate Lamon, and Troy Anderson. Kind of makes you wonder if they're going to experiment with Troy Anderson in some different ways, maybe use him to come off the edge in some speed rush packages, which would be interesting to see how that would work out. Definitely like the player. Was a little bit surprised by the pick itself, but you're not going to get me to complain too much about continuing to add pieces to the defense.
Well, like I said, if anything, depth, because like I said, look at what happened when we didn't have players once they did go down and you didn't really have enough plug and play as compared to other teams. And so again, the way that you win consistently is that you have enough players to where if someone goes down 2-3 games, you have somebody who can fill in and also still be productive. So that's going to go a long way, I think. Let's go to 186, pick in the NFL draft for the Atlanta Falcons. We got Jace McKellen from the University of Alabama. So let's see what he got going on here.
and 6 will do it again behind a huge offensive line and a home made to the outside by McClellan. And they go back to McClellan. McClellan assessing. Breaks one tackle into the end zone.
He's looking left. And now he's in a heap of trouble. He lobs it to McClellan on the run. James McClellan down the sideline.
They'll give it back to McClellan. McClellan gets to the edge. A burst inside the 25. He cuts to his right.
They keep trying the ground game. This time it works. James McClellan. James McClellan. Touchdown, Alabama.
So that's how you would describe it.
3rd and goal. Bounce to the outside. And McClellan.
So as I mentioned at the top of the show, I did not have the time to be able to put together a draft review show where I would have all my notes on each player and everything. I was going to kind of rely on Jordan to help out if he was able to join the show later. But one thing I do want to say is with the depth chart as it is right now, you got Bijan as a number 1, Tyler as a number 2, and Jace as a number 3 over Avery right now. I know it's early, but is he somebody who can actually get some serious playing time? I would say it's very possible. And at the end of the day, you can never have enough running backs because it's the NFL. People get hurt. And that's another thing to where it goes back to having depth again. I'm seeing an error message on Twitter now. Ain't this something going on? Anyway, I'll ignore that for now. Wow, this is crazy. Anyway, for depth reasons, I think he could be a good player for the Falcons. Also out of the backfield as another possible pass catcher for Kirk Cousins as well. Jordan, what do you think of him as a runner, just being on the team, what he can contribute, things of that nature?
I mean, honestly, I see him as a depth piece. Tough runner, as of all the Alabama running backs are. Pretty big, powerful guy. You know what I mean? Able to plow through and break tackles. Probably a lot closer to Tyler Algier than he is to Bijan Robinson. But yeah, I mean, you always need depth at that position. That position takes some of the most punishment of any position in the NFL. That's why it has the shortest career span of any position in the NFL. So, hopefully we won't see a whole lot of him this year because we'll be able to, kind of use that 1-2 punch of Robinson and Algier. Looking for a big year out of Bijan Robinson in his second year. But, yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's one of those positions you can't never have too much depth at. Another guy that was a, pretty productive runner. 1,981 yards and 18 touchdowns in his college career. Career high 890 yards and career high 8 touchdowns last year. And of course, Alabama, those numbers don't jump way off the page at you, but Alabama uses a committee of running backs, just like the Falcons do and most teams do today. You don't see a whole lot of instances where there's one guy getting, 1,500, 2,000 yards like you did maybe, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah. And I apologize, folks. It looks like I might have put my notes out of order on the picks, 186 and 187th, because I believe I should have went to KC next. But to add to that on the running back side of things, about not having enough running backs at any given time or whatnot, it's always good to be able to have that backup because of what's happened in the last couple of years. And again, with even the positions on the blocking side or, with tight ends and things of that nature, just having those extra players near the end of the season is going to help out a lot, especially resting players. Let's say if we do win our 10 games and get to the playoffs, that's going to help us as well. Let's go to the player that I did skip, Mr. Casey Washington from the University of Illinois. Actually, you didn't skip him. Yeah, I like I said, I'm doing again the road radio thing. Jordan just threw me all off. I'm still upset about that, but it's all good.
Right, but actually, you had it right. I think Washington was picked one pick after McClellan. Actually, in real life,
so
we had back-to-back picks. Yes, sir.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure. All right, here we go with the highlights for Mr. Casey Washington.
Panic, pumps, throws, end zone, touchdown, Casey Washington. Panic looking left, throws towards the end zone and pulling it down, touchdown, Casey Washington. He simply wanted that football more.
As we get close to wrapping up this segment, with Casey, it's always going to be a matter of when the ball comes to you, can you make a play, right? First, can you catch the ball? Second, can you do something after you catch the ball, of course? Can you not, go out of bounds too soon if you had yards that you can pick up? Can you make sure that if you do get hit, you don't fumble it, things of that nature? So those are things that you always have to look at. But on the depth chart, again, when we're looking at, wide receivers, how far is he from being able to actually play? That's going to be the thing. But right now he's listed as the second wide receiver on the other side. But Jordan, what do you think about Casey so far?
Pretty big receiver, about 6'1", 1.5, 6'2", almost 200 pounds, 197 pounds, out of Illinois. Very good at making contested catches where you kind of put the ball up and he's able to angle his body. He's able to play through contact to make those type of catches, and that's a good thing. Pretty good blocker with his size and strength at the wide receiver position, able to break tackles when he does catch the ball one-on-one and against a DB. I guess probably if you say any weaknesses, it'd be that, he's not the fastest receiver when it comes to just straight up separating from DBs. And of course, like all young receivers, he's going to have to continue to work on his craft in order to use his route running to get open, since that's, since he's not going to just run by too many people physically. Another guy that was a fifth-year senior, 1,508 yards over those 5 years, 122 receptions. Had a low touchdown rate. I guess maybe that's one of the only other concerns. Only 4 touchdowns in his career. All of those did come this past season. Also had a rushing touchdown as a sophomore as well. So, all in all, more depth when you talk about this point in the draft. But we need depth at the wide receiver position. Obviously, Drake London being our number one wide receiver, probably going to have Darnell Mooney as the second guy in the pecking order. I'm probably thinking Rondale Moore, who came over for Desmond Ridder for the Cardinals, will get the opportunity. And I think he has the talent and the speed to emerge as the next guy to that. Then after that, it's pretty much going to be open enough for grabs with the rest of the guys left on the team. So Washington will have a spot to compete for the third or fourth wide receiver, depending on how he does in camp.
Yeah, it's pretty wide open. I mean, at the end of the day, they're a little bit better off than they were last year for sure, I believe. And this is going to be a matter of the fact that we have Kirk Cousins as the quarterback. That's going to change up a lot of things there because he's an accurate passer. So if you can catch the ball, you got somebody who can throw it. Everybody should, benefit from that. Last pick of,
and let me not leave out, because I just named wide receivers, but Kyle Pitts, the tight end, is going to be very important to the success of the team this season. Looking for a big year out of Kyle. We know he had over 1,000 yards. It came just short of breaking Mike Dicker's rookie record for receiving yards by a tight end when he had Matt Ryan as his quarterback. So now that he has Kirk Cousins with Michael Penix as a backup, I'm expecting big things out of Kyle.
Precisely. Last pick for the Falcons was 197th. His name was Zion Lowe from UGA. So we did get somebody from UGA finally, right? But anyway, let's go ahead and look at his stats, but his highlights, and we'll go from there.
Second down and 10. Down he goes.
Now, one thing about, being picked that low in the draft is always going to be a matter of, okay, well, is he even going to make the team type of a deal? What kind of expectations can you really have with someone getting picked 197th or whatnot? But the fact that he's a defensive tackle, of course, there's always that possibility, special teams can come in there and things of that nature. However, he played for the, University of Georgia. He played for one of the better coaches in college football, I should say, who's basically making ready-made players to the NFL. And he's getting to play for the Atlanta Falcons, which is the home team. So I would think he'll have a little bit more motivation to prove himself on the field to give himself a chance to play. But what kind of details can you tell us about Zion, Jordan?
Well, once again, he fits in with the theme. Big, long arm defensive lineman, 6'6", about 315 pounds. Not a
Jordan, we
a
lost
whole
you
lot of
again.
stats.
As Jordan comes back, he was talking about the defensive tackle from UGA, Mr. Zion.
Yeah.
There he is. We lost you. Repeat yourself. We lost you a little bit.
Yeah, he fits right along with the theme of what we've been talking about. Just big, long arm defensive lineman, 6'6", 314 pounds. Not a whole lot of numbers in college, as he was used more as, a guy to take up blockers, to draw double teams, to free up the other UGA defenders. But, I think he does have a shot to make this team. Like I said, it's going to be a huge competition to make the roster and then to get snaps up front behind Grady Jarrett and alongside Grady Jarrett and David Onyemata, as we see what type of unique front seven combinations Coach Raheem Morris is going to go with in this new 3-4 hybrid type defense we'll be running.
So that was the draft for the Atlanta Falcons. And as I mentioned, this wasn't going to be a full show. We could always do one if enough people ask us to. We could do a full draft review show sometime or another. But we wanted to kind of, since this was our first 2-hour show in a while, since both of us have been together, we wanted to try to hit all of our teams tonight. So hopefully y'all enjoyed that with the Falcons. Now, again, since I don't have the radio set up for us, I usually would take a little music break or whatnot, and I can't do that tonight. So what we're going to do is go right into the next segment, which is going to be a very brief one because I want to talk about the Braves to close out this first hour. So right now, I want to tell y'all about something y'all might not know about. The Atlanta Vibe is a new volleyball team in Atlanta. They're a professional volleyball team. They started playing this year. They actually went 19-6 this year, so they're very good. They were 10-2 at home. They play at the Gas South Arena in Duluth, by the way. So if you want to get tickets for the next season, do that. They did lose in the playoffs. They actually played a week and a half ago, I believe. They lost their game in the playoffs. Did you get to go to any matches? Message us. Let us know what the environment was like. Again, because they're brand new, we didn't really get a chance to really cover them that much, but we will for the 2024 season for sure, or the 2025 season, I guess you could say. And we'll be talking about points, serves, receptions, attacks, blocks, the whole 9 yards, because they're a professional team in Atlanta. I also will be working on getting interviews. Actually, Leah Edmond was named MVP of the first season for the league. She's on the team, so that's pretty cool. So I will be working on getting her as an interview. So I'm excited about that. So again, if you've never been, make sure you get tickets for the next season coming up. But the Atlanta Vibe is a new professional team. And again, around the ATL, we talk about all the sports teams in Atlanta and Georgia. So there will be a new one for us to get to talk about. That being said, let's talk about some Atlanta Braves. We know it is some dark days right now in Atlanta, somehow once again, right? And I just checked the score. We did lose that game to the Nationals 7-2. Not good, right? So right now, the Braves have been 5-5 in their last 10 games. They're 31-22 now because of this loss for the season. Their ERA is decent. It's 3.44. That's ninth in baseball. Bullpen over the last 10 games has not been bad, about at 3, all right? Fifth best in baseball. Unfortunately, though, that hitting is bad. Like, we're hitting 250-something as a team. Ozuna, of course, is, like, carrying everybody. He's hitting 309. He has 16 home runs, but nobody else is near 300. Ozzy is the closest at 271. Harris is at 259. Arcia is at 245. Riley, who's just getting back, is at 232. Acuna, of course, he's out for the season. He was at 250. Olsen, 232. So that's a big problem from 1 year having one of the best offenses of all time to this year we can't hit the side of the barn. So that is a big deal. But also we lost Strider for the year, right? Now Chris Sale has made up for that. He's 8-1. He has a 2.12 ERA. Charlie Morton, yeah, he can keep you in some games, but at the same time, he can't, right? He's 3-2, but with a 4.29 ERA. Max is dominating out there. He's 5-2 with a 2.97 ERA. Lopez, he hasn't played a lot, but he's 2-1, 1.54 ERA. Elder, disaster again. Finally got sent down. He should never actually pitch for the Braves ever again in life. He has a 6.46 ERA. So, can anything be fixed at this point? Is this season basically a wash? Because really, is for the Braves, it is World Series or bust. Finishing 10 games over 500 ain't going to be the thing for this season, especially with Philadelphia with the start that they have. Like, we're far behind right now. I know it's June, but it's not looking great. So can the season be salvaged at this point? Is finishing above 500 okay for everybody? What are your thoughts? Let us know, of course, in the messenger. But Jordan, what are your thoughts on the season so far for the Braves as we finish up the first hour?
It's been rough, sir. And particularly with the injury bug. Spencer Strider going down early like he did was just a huge blow. He was one of the Cy Young front runners in the National League. And then to lose Acuna like we did. And it was so disappointing because I was thinking, well, you know, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe he's not going to be done for the season. Because if you heard him talk about it after the game, he said he didn't feel the same pop he felt when he tore the ACL on the other knee a few years back.
He walked off the field.
Right, and walked off on his own power. But come to find out it was a complete ACL tear, and he's done for the season. Should we worry about the Braves? Yes, we should. But at the same time, I do think that a lot of these guys are going to return to what they normally do. Good players who have been productive for a number of years, like Matt Olson, like Ozzie Albies, they don't just fall off a cliff usually for a whole season unless they're injured. We've also got Sean Murphy, the catcher, back, which is big defensively as well as with power. I still think the Braves are a wild card playoff team at worst. I think it's going to be hard to keep the division winning streak going. But at the same time, the Phillies have been playing a bunch of teams under 500. They've lost. Yeah. Last I looked, they had lost 3 straight for the first time all year. So I do think if we can get on a streak, we can close the gap with them. But that being said, it's going to be hard to go all the way, though, without Strider and Acuna. I mean, I know we won before without Acuna, but to have both missing, that's quite the loss. I do expect AA to go out and make some type of move, but it's going to be a while because with this new baseball playoff format, you have more teams with the opportunity to make the playoffs. Therefore, you have less teams that are going to be willing to sell early like this and make a trade. So you're probably going to have to wait till after the All-Star break to get some real reinforcements in here. You mentioned Max Fried, man. He has been incredible. He has been lights out. I really wish we would sign this guy to an extension like right now. Unfortunately, doesn't look like that's going to happen. And I hate to say this, Chris. I really hate to be this guy, but I think we are watching the last of Max Fried as an Atlanta Brave.
Yeah,
I do too. After this year,
he's pitching as if he's gone because they didn't want to sign him or whatever, and that's just a mistake at the end of the day. And the other thing is Snicker is actually letting them pitch, and I wish Snicker had went on retired after 2021, the World Series, and let Ron take over. I've told that to everybody. And here we are. Anyway, it's a whole nother story. But in this particular case, he's letting the man pitch. Again, he ain't broken. Let the man pitch the inning so that way you can temper the bullpen. Because that's what everybody has done for 50 years. Why all of a sudden everybody got to pitch 5.5 innings? Charlie doing that is one thing because he's old. But it shouldn't be Max when he's dominating. Why are you going to take him out with 6 innings pitched and then let the bullpen come in and blow the game? Stop it. Let Max finish that junk out. And you see Chris Sale's doing the same thing. So now it's a matter of, can we get somebody to replace Strider innings-wise, pitching-wise, and things of that nature? And or are you trying to find somebody that can replace what Acuna can bring up? You can't replace him, but you got to get somebody who can hit something, right? Who's leading off, right? How is that experiment going to go? Is it going to be Ozzie? Harris really hadn't been hitting that well, so do you want to throw him out there like that? I don't know. So that's going to be interesting. And like you said, because of the new format of the playoffs, people ain't going to be wanting to come off of guys too early because everybody has a shot right now. It is just June, right? So, whether a move, or it could be even from AAA. Okay, so that's another thing. I forgot about that. So you do have some players that could get called up and they have a chance, especially the starters, as far as pitching goes. We just called up one recently, right?
Yeah, that was the case today. The young man that started today, he was out of triple. Well, no, he wasn't even out of AAA. Excuse me. He played A ball and AA ball and was called up to start for the Atlanta Braves today. He had a decent start. Let me go to the numbers real quick here. And his name is Schellenbach. 5 innings pitched, 5 hits, 3 runs allowed, 3 earned runs, struck out 5, only walked 1, gave up a home run. So not the best debut, but I mean, didn't come out there and just get straight up shelled as a pitcher who didn't even pitch at AAA out of Nebraska in college. So we'll be interested to see how he does. Got a pretty good start out of A.J. Smith Shrover, but he actually got hurt in that start. So that's why we won't see him for a little while. But you mentioned Bryce Elder. Thank God they finally took him out of the lineup. I mean, he was not giving us a chance to win. Anytime we played a team that could hit, it was a guaranteed loss with him as the starter. So I do agree with you there. We should never see him again starting for the Atlanta Braves, or even, I don't see him as a reliever either. In fact, they need to be sending him out of here or doing something because, that he's just not going to work here. So.
Sometimes it's just not worth it to keep giving people chances when they can't prove that they can do it. And he keeps proving that he can. And it hurt us. It really hurt because they had to rely on him and they couldn't do it. So, it's one of those deals.
And just to add, I say it's a shame that Michael Harris is not hitting well right now because I would love to see him at the top of that order if we could depend on him to get on base, because he just adds that element of a guy who really has true speed, who can get on base, and just make the pitcher think about him running, make the pitcher have to pay attention to him, which would open things up for Ozzie hitting second, O'Reilly, hitting third, and Ozuna and Olsen. So, it's unfortunate because that's who I'd like to see hit lead off, but I understand why he's not right now because he's just not swinging the bat very well.
Yeah. So, first of all, thanks for everybody who's watched the first half of the show thus far. Everybody who is actually, I forgot to do that too. So if you're joining us, thank you from, let's see if I can find them real quick. I can't all of a sudden. There it is. The Atlanta Hawks Facebook page, Atlanta Hawks Home Court Facebook page, Atlanta Hawks Die Hard Fanatics Facebook page, and Atlanta Hawks Nation Facebook page, along with the NBA Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, anywhere you might be watching the show from, either live or if you get to watch it later on. Appreciate the support. We're going to take a little bit of a break. It's going to be a quick break because we're going to start the next hour talking Atlanta Hawks. And for the first time in 40 years, the Hawks have the #1 draft pick. What are they going to do? Don't go anywhere. This is Around the ATL on IMTM Worldwide Radio. We'll be right back.
Set it up, set it up. Ray, pass the ball. Holly, going for Ray. Now, move! Come on.
All right, we are back on air. This is Chris on IMTN Worldwide Radio. This is Around the ATL. And we are starting the second hour talking about the Atlanta Hawks. Now, before I actually get started, I have to say this real quick, okay? So let me scroll down a little bit here. So first of all, if you hadn't had a chance to do so, please first subscribe to the YouTube page, IMTN Worldwide Radio. Last Thursday, I did a show. It was actually dedicated to Eddie Carswell, who had passed away. I told you that at the beginning of the show, because he was a Trae Young fan. So I did a show. I do a segmented show called Around the ATL Side Notes, where I do a topic, just a topic. In this case, it was the first time I actually did a whole show on just Trae Young. So today, a couple of hours ago, I was told, I have to actually read this a little bit. So I was told that Trae gets volume assists for marketing purposes. Okay? Yes, Jordan. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I was told that Trae Young is the reason that DeAndre Hunter can't stay healthy. His injuries are because of Trae. There's just a whole, again, I have to say these things because, again, there's a difference between hatred and criticism, which is why I did at the end of the show from last Thursday an analysis of the game, the play-in game versus the Hawks and the Bulls, the last game of the season, to say, here are all the shots that the Bulls hit that night. Watch that and then make an opinion based on what actually happened in that game, because in that game, the Hawks gave up 72 points in the paint and 43% from three. And you need to watch each bucket to see. In fact, you know what I'll do? I'll sneak it in. I wasn't going to do this, but I'll sneak it in real quick here. Let's see. Here we go.
And early, that is always a point of interest from people, the chemistry between those two. Vucevic, the finish on the delivery from DeRozan.
That was the first shot of that game.
Chicago took the season series 2 out of 3 against the Hawks as Vucevic stops on a dime and flips it in.
Those are the first 2 shots of the play-in game for the Chicago Bulls this year. Watch that game. If you go back and watch the Around the ATL Side Notes with Trae Young, you'll watch the whole game. I'm not going to do it here, but I'm just saying you need to go watch that game again. But my point was with the marketing purposes, people hate Trae so much that they'll say stuff like that. Okay. But here's the deal. And I posted this on Twitter. You don't get mad at Dominique Wilkins though. Now, Dominique is one of our guys for sure. He's been on the show, on the interview, one of our first shows or whatnot. But why don't people get mad at Dominique? He's a 2-time slam dunk champion. That has nothing to do with winning an NBA Finals, right? He's a scoring champ. Does that have anything to do with winning a Finals, right? He retired top 10 in scoring in NBA history. And I still think he's, 14th, 15th, somewhere in there, right? He never made an Eastern Conference Finals, right? It's not like he won a slew of divisions there in Atlanta while he was there either, right? Dominique has a statue in front of State Farm Arena, right? But nobody hates Dominique, but you hate Trey for some reason. I don't understand that. Because if you're basing that off of, oh, well, Trey hasn't won, first of all, the team hasn't won. One player has never won an NBA Finals, not even Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant or Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson had a whole bunch of people with him. Larry Bird had a whole bunch of people with him to win those championships, right? And he only won 3, right? But Trey hadn't won a championship, right? And that's why I did a show about accomplishments. You can't down one person's accomplishments without downing everybody's accomplishments, right? Because it's across the board. And again, how come you don't hate Adam Keefe? How come you don't hate Marvin Williams? How come you don't hate Bays or Priest Lauderdale or Sheldon Williams or Hindu or Joe Johnson or Jeff Teague as much as you do Trae Young? Because none of them won a championship either. Did they? Just saying. I had to say that. I had to get that off right off the bat, Jordan. Your thoughts before I get into the draft.
Just the name Hindu, first of all, makes me shudder. What a horrible player on a contract that was way more than what his production was. But the Trae Young hate is crazy. You got people suggesting that we, trade Trae because we haven't won a championship in 6 years. First of all, it took Michael Jordan, the greatest player of all time, 7 years to win a championship. And you want to trade Trae Young because he hadn't won in 6. You don't get better in the NBA by trading all-star players away. You get better by adding to them. So, it's crazy. And a lot of this is groupthink because you have a lot of national writers doing all they can to try to push Trae Young out of Atlanta. Because all of a sudden, if he gets traded to like LA or New York or somewhere, he would all of a sudden become the greatest thing since sliced bread. Watch how crazy it would turn now from the way they attack him to how they would praise him. I don't know what it is.
Well, see, Jordan, that's why I posted the interviews with Steve Homan and Bob Rathman that we did last year at the end of the season, where Bob basically kind of went into the part of the people who are on the radio, the writers and things of that nature in your local doing it, because that perpetrates everything else. Trae Young ain't just an all-star. Trae Young is the all-time leader in assists in the Atlanta Hawks history in 6 seasons, right? He's one of 2 people who, for their career, is averaging 25 points. The other guy is Oscar Robertson. Playoffs, there's only one player who's averaging 26 points and 9 assists. That's Trae Young. Ain't nobody else even doing that, right? But that's the player that you want to get rid of, the guy who did lead us to an Eastern Conference Finals, and we were 2 games away from winning it. Last year, the Boston series, if Trae had just had a little bit more help, we would have beat Boston last year. I keep saying that. All you got to do is watch the games. I actually did review that in last week's show around the ATL side notes. Go to IMTN Worldwide Radio on YouTube to go see that. But again, it's just it's a lot to just keep going.
Trae's 13th all time in NBA history in points per game. And he's just barely, not even a whole 10th of a point, percentage point. It's like a 100th of a percentage point behind Oscar Robertson for 3rd all time in assists per game. And if he continues that trend of improving his assists every season, which he has so far in his career, he'll have a higher assist per game than Oscar Robertson at the end of next season.
In six seasons, Trae Young has, off the top of my head, Oscar Robertson, LeBron James, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook in 30.10 assist games in history. That's the whole of everything, okay? And in the playoffs, he's 8th all time in the playoffs, and he's only been in the playoffs 3 times. And he's one of a few players that has a 30-15 game in NBA history. Yet that's the guy that you hate and don't want. And I guess we should have gotten, again, like I said on my show last week, if it was all of that, why didn't we get Colin Sexton? Why didn't we get Jaren Jackson Jr.? Why didn't we get someone else if that was your thing to say we need another Gary Payton here instead of, Trae? But that's a whole nother story. I want to get into this draft real quick, though. Francis says, thank you. We need to keep Trae. Our management sucks. Well, yeah, management definitely.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. We have not gotten the man the help he needs here. We haven't put the right amount of defensive players around him. We got rid of 2 starters from the team that's been farther than any Atlanta Hawks team has in history, but we have nothing to show for trading John Collins, and we still haven't gotten that pick from the Kevin Huerter trade yet, and yet people want to get Trey out of town? No, we need to be adding to Trey. We need to be trying to build a proper team around Trey, and, it's just so interesting that everybody is all, up in arms because the golden boy, the boy wonder, Luka Doncic, is 1 win away from going to the NBA Finals. But how quickly people forget the Mavericks did not even make the play-in last year, okay? We're not talking about losing in the play-in, the missing the playoffs like we did. No, they didn't even get a play-in game last year. And look where they are now. When you add, you added the Kyrie Irving the year before, that starts to gel. Then they brought in several players to help, drafted Derek Lively, who helped, traded for Daniel Gafford at the trade deadline, traded for P.J. Washington, a player who I had wanted us to get here in Atlanta, and look at what adding to a team around a star player can do. So all of you guys need
Luka
to
said this is the best thing he's ever had around him.
Right, and to segue into our next topic, the main topic, the draft pick, John Freaky on 92.9 The Game the other day, his suggestion was trading Trey and the #1 pick in the package to see what you could get. And I was just floored because I don't even have anything else to say about that, Chris. Go ahead, sir.
Well, before I this is where I'm supposed to do like Shannon Sharp and get my brown liquor out, right? Goodness gracious, wow. So I don't know how I can respond to that other than that makes completely no sense.
None.
Then you have a player of what Trey can do as opposed to all the other players in the NBA, and nobody's mad about the other players on our team that don't actually do the defensive side of the ball as well. Okay? Because if you're mad about one player can't play another 12. I've proved that a lot over the years, especially my Sunday night basketball videos that I've started posting on Twitter as well. Make sure y'all check that out. But if you watch the Chicago, do y'all want me to play? I'll play another one real quick. Let me see if I can find one. Because you can't just be mad on one thing. Let's see if I can find one here. Let's see.
Well, in my conversations with him earlier today, he did say his doctors said that he could probably remove the brace by next week. So maybe he just.
Then I get why he would take it off. Mid-range jumper is good for Vucevic.
See, if you go and watch the show I did last week, I break down every shot that Chicago made. First quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter. We gave up 72 points in the paint. Okay?
Sir,
and
that
42% from free.
So that first highlight you showed right there where DeJounte drops back to avoid getting screened and then just reaches his arm as the guy drives right by him for a layup. That was the point when I reached my breaking point of frustration when watching that game.
At the end of the show, I might pull up my notes and actually go through some of them just for the effect of it. But I don't want to do that now because I want to go through this. So the Hawks lost the last 7 games of the regular season, by the way, to end 36-47. That's not why they got the #1 pick. They got the #1 pick because of the new format of getting the #1 pick is not the same. It's not a matter of you losing all the games in the world. You might just get it just because. So keep that in mind. They lost their playing game against the Bulls. Hawks have the first pick for the first time since the 70s. It's the only pick the Hawks have this year. So what are the needs of the Hawks this year? So Hawks gave up 120 points a game, scored 118. Okay, the Hawks lost 21 games by 7 points or less. All right, Hawks were 14-14 without Trae Young. But remember, we also were missing games with Bey, JJ, and Okongwu at the same time. Okay, so again, some people want to attribute things with players being missed. Guess what I did last Thursday? I went through all 28 games that Trae missed. Okay, all of them. And told you what happened in each game. So you want to go listen to that breakdown? I suggest you go watch that as well. You also had Hunter miss games this season. All right, he played 57 games this year. So what are our needs? I would say we need to look at the center position. Obviously, we got the number 1 pick. That's something that we need to, take a look at. Again, teams. Oh, by the way, I almost forgot something here. So let's see if I can find it. Before I get to that, team shot 57% against the Hawks. All the players on the opposite teams have to be guarded, okay? The Hawks gave up 53 points in the paint a game average or more. Gave up 12 offensive rebounds a game or more. Everybody has to block out. One player can't just be doing that. Everybody has to block out. Everybody has to get back on defense. That's all team stuff there, okay? We don't have depth on the Hawks. For almost 50 games plus last year, the Hawks had Garrison, Trent, and Wesley Matthews averaging 7 points a game, 3 roster spots, okay? And as Jordan reminded y'all, again, I've been saying it for a while, Bay and JJ started this year. They came off the bench a year ago, and we never replaced their production along with John Collins. So 3 really good productive players gone from your team. We didn't replace it, okay? Vic gave us some decent minutes, had some good games, but he averaged 5 points a game as well, okay? Patty didn't really play till the season was half over, same with Bruno. We had 9 players on our team score 6 points or less for the season. How does that make us better than other teams from a year ago where all the teams this year got better one way or the other, right? That's not enough. And we had the injuries, right? So that has to change. We don't have a stopper on the wings like other teams do. Hawks were 26 in the league in block shots per game, okay? Kobe showed us some promise once he started getting to play, and so did Kumo G, obviously. Did you know that shooting guard scored 2,544 points on the Hawks last year? And I have a note to do this, so I guess I'll go ahead and do it. I swear, I wasn't going to do this tonight, but actually, you know what? Oh, so I'll do it at the end. I'll see if I can remember. 1,886 points by point guards. Small forwards averaged 27 points a game against the Hawks. 27 by small forwards. Power forwards put up 2,024 points. Centers 1,334 points. Okay. Now, for the number 1 draft pick, there's a couple of people I'm looking at. Alex Sars, obviously, Donovan Clingan, but I had to go ahead and add one person because of the hoopla, Mr. Zachary. Let's see if I can pronounce it correctly. I had the pronunciation somewhere on here. Richard Shar, something like that. I can't get it. I'm not French. So I'm gonna play their highlights. But Jordan, what are your needs as far as the Hawks in this number 1 draft pick? What do you perceive before I start playing some highlights?
Defense, first and foremost, but like any time you get the number 1 draft pick, you want to try to get the best player out of the entire draft. In our case, best player is not a point guard. So for me, it's pretty much a 2-man race. Alex Sarr and Zachary Richichet. That's about it.
And I'm just typing some notes there on the YouTube page because he mentioned coaching as well. So let's go first player, Alex Sarr, 7 foot, 224, 19 years old. And let's watch a little bit of Mr. Sarr's highlights and see what we see. Let's see if I can get this set up. I hate that I don't have the radio music for everything. I hate that, but it is what it is. Maybe next time. There we go, Alex. All right, here we go. Oh, by the way, with Alex, I'm doing offense and defense. So I think I have offense first. Here we go.
Sar će to zakucati. Pravi loptu, Mitch Crick ide Sar u kontru. Sar poletio je Francuz. Druga četvrtina. Opet Sar sjajno skače.
Što se tiče 36ersa, kažem, imali su jedan niz od 4 poraza za redom.
great Calgary just walked up to you and said your dad was his idol.
Yeah.
Your dad a Hall of Famer.
Velika pogreška Galloweja. I Sar će to za...
Jesse Wagstaff was actually giving a pretty good demonstration on how to do it.
Napada ide do kraja, sad još jednom.
Defended by McCall. Sar for three. That'll go.
Miller. Doolittle se diže, Doolittle nema tu dobre obrane Millera.
22-11. Start for the Wildcats and here's Sar showing his range.
Igra s brojem 3 u redovima Jack Jumpersa, pa čisto da možete obratiti pozornost.
Johnson trying to create block by Usher. Sar trying to take it coast to coast. Foul!
Making big plays in the grand final series, and then you look at Michael Harris.
All right, so that was a lot. I was a little bit more, but I wanted to stop it. So, one, did you see the step back threes? The calmness of it. Okay. Did you see the spin turnaround jumper in the paint? Did you see his touch inside? See, again, when you're talking about being mad about stuff, and you're talking about today's NBA, air quotes right there, how are you not mad when you don't have a center that can do all of those things, and we haven't been trying to get one all this time? When you have a center that's not a threat on the floor, he don't have to be worried about. That means you are literally playing 4-on-5 on offense. If you can't hit a jumper, if you're always in the paint and you're always trying to pass it out because you have no moves in the paint, you have no touch around the rim, you don't know how to hit it off the backboard square, right? You can't hit a floater. You can't hit a 15-footer. You can't hit a three from anywhere on the court. That's a problem, don't you think? But anyway, Sar could do all those things, obviously. Is pretty impressive. Jordan, what do you think of his initial highlights there on offense?
I like a lot of what I see. You see a lot of potential in him to be a versatile player. And he's kind of in the mold of the recent bigs that have come out. First, Chet Holmgren and Victor Wembanyama. And obviously, Wembanyama is considered to be a generational prospect. So I'm not saying he's going to have that effect in his first year, but he has a similar type game. Very tall guy, officially measured without shoes at 6'11" and 3/4 of an inch, so definitely 7 feet with shoes on. 224 pounds, and he could definitely stand to get a lot stronger, but at least he's not, real thin coming in like our guy Bol. Unfortunately, we don't have the sounder there to hit a wingspan of 7'4.25" a 9'2" standing reach, so he can almost get to the rim. I mean, he's just 10 inches away from the rim by just standing up and extending his arm out. And has the potential to be, I'll say, if you've listened to the show in the past, you know that I've talked about having a versatile guy at the center position, a guy who could protect the rim and stretch the floor at the same time. Is why when Miles Turner was on the trade block, I was urging the Hawks to go trade for him. Now here you have a guy with a similar type skill set, but who can also put the ball on the floor better and who's also taller. So on
that note, let me keep you there because I want to play the defensive highlights now on that note. So that's all I wanted to play on that. Now, there was no sound on that particular highlight. There's nothing I could do about that. But one couple of things I want to mention real quick. Number one, did you see how he plays the screen? He actually stays with man instead of overhelping and playing a man that ain't his and leaving somebody else open. How many times did you see that he actually picked up man? You also saw him recover at the top of the key and not let the man shoot a wide open three either, right? How many times did you see that? So that's stuff that he's already doing now at 19, 20 years old. That's something that we've needed for a while as far as that goes. He doesn't allow open jumpers. He's always running at you. Jordan mentioned the wingspan. He's going to block some shots by accident, but he's also going to deter shots because he's there. He's doing this right here, right? You got to come over me. That's what I talk about when I play basketball on Sunday nights. If I come W, you're going to have to hit a crazy shot to get it over me as far as that goes. He'll be able to rebound. He'll bulk up eventually, whatever. But Chet ain't really worried about bulking up. Wemby hadn't really worried about bulking up just yet. It's going to happen naturally eventually, but that hasn't stopped them from blocking all the shots in the world and making people change their minds about hitting a layup. The Hawks gave up 72 points in the paint that play-in game. I showed you the first two shots, which was the center from the top of the key coming in. It happened a lot. If you go to Around the ATL on IMTN Worldwide Radio on YouTube, last Thursday's show, go watch that. I did the whole game. Go watch that tape. Jordan, what do you think on him on defense before we go to Donovan?
Well, just to follow up what I was saying, he gives you that ability, like I've talked about it, we have desired for a long time, to be able to spread the floor on offense and play 5 out if you want. And that allows guys like a Trey, like a JJ, DeJounte, if he's still here, to be able to attack. But you could do that without sacrificing your defense. And if they want to come over and help, you got a guy at every single position that can knock down an open three with a guy like that at the center position. Just a quick look at his numbers. On the per 36 minutes basis, in the Australian League, he averaged 19.2 points, 9 rebounds, 3.1 blocks, 2.1 assists, so he does pass the ball well. Also for a big man, so just a great prospect. More so than bulking up, I think he's just got to continue to get stronger, which I believe he will. Like Kevin Garnett, Kevin Garnett never got bulky, but he just, by the end of his career, he was very strong with his frame. So yes, he's definitely my favorite prospect in this cycle. But I'm sure we do have some other prospects that are going to be in consideration here.
Yep. So we'll go to the next one. He's also a center. His name is Donovan Clingan from UConn. Let's watch his highlights, and we'll talk about him for a minute.
Robust move into the paint by Black. Charred free. Picked up Caravan. Baseball pass. Jackson. Clingan. Hold on to your hats when the big man runs like that.
Shema misses badly on a 3. This is Aline. Clingan the trailer, and he's headed to the free throw line. Rick Pitino doesn't have a ton of scoring off his bench, but Ibinayo, pretty good three-point shooter. That's a good sign for Iona. Offensive rebound. Look at Clingan, drop step, just masterful.
21 of UConn's 30 or 35 are behind the arc in the first half. Oh, great backdoor. There's Clingan. That by Danny Hurley, not giving them a chance to get a rhythm.
Well, this has been highly intense. Clingan off balance. What a finish on the reverse.
You get these couple of stops, you can put some game pressure on UConn. Because right now UConn is running their stuff.
Calcaterra dropping dimes. And it's Clingan. Clingan didn't bite.
So that's a little bit from Donovan. 7'2", 280 pounds listed. He's 20 years old. Did you see the drop step, first of all? When's the last time you seen a drop step for the Hawks in the post? Okay, that's footwork right there. That's kind of a big deal, just saying. The off the backboard finishes that he had. Of course, on defense, again, he moved up on screens. He's blocking guard shots. Blocking shots in the paint, deterring shots. That's something that's very important. He also has decent hands. That's kind of a big deal as well. Jordan, what do you think of Donovan?
I think he's probably the safest prospect to take at the top of the draft. Definitely going to be a good defensive player, a good rim protector. Has an amazing wingspan of 7'6" and 3/4 inches. So that's almost a 7'7" wingspan, 9'7" standing reach. So he's just 5 inches away from being able to touch the rim. Just standing up. We're not even talking about raising on your tiptoes. So definitely a big player, definitely a great defensive player. Don't think he'll be as good as Sarr at switching on the perimeter and keeping guys from being able to get him off balance and take the three. And I just see much more lift in Alex Sarr, much more, jumping ability. For example, I think Alex Sarr had a vertical of 37 inches or so. And I know Klingen's it was about 32 and a quarter or so. So I definitely like Sarr better because I see more potential. Me with these drafts, I'm all about taking risks to get the best player long term. But if you're looking to make the safest pick, you're looking for the most instant defensive impact, I do think Donovan Klingen would be your guy.
All right. And as I mentioned, because of games played recently, we have somebody else that is vying for that number one spot possibly. Mr. Zachary, from France. So we're going to look at a little bit of his highlights. Now, I added him very late. I wasn't going to do it before, but I kind of had to. But let's go ahead and look at his highlights as well.
Sprinting up and down for his team. So, he won't need to get loose before shooting it. Good steal, though.
Well, here we go now. Risa transition goes up, avoids the block, and a beautiful finish. Well, like father, like son. His father was a silver medalist.
Samson watching from York in England, one of my favorite cities. Been there a couple of times. Breakaway. And the left-hand jam by Zachary Risache.
Farron had gotten the rebound. Now he has it on the inside. Back and forth between him and Luzidi. Gets it moved around to the top up to Risache. And now they've got it back going. At least France does. A shot right there is going to be off the mark. Going the other way. Fast break. Nobody in front. Goes and slams it away. Risache. For two. Fast break opportunity for France. Behind the back, and Perrin finishes it. Inside to the post. Sarr goes up and good. For that. But right now, these are the teams that 4 seconds on the shot clock. Goes underneath.
So we see some things for Risache. He also played with Sarr, so that made things interesting in those highlights, I'm sure, for some of y'all. So a little bit about him, 6'9", 210, 19 years old. Now, one thing about him, again, for the Hawks, I don't think he's a valid option just because he doesn't fit a natural need for us right now, especially on defense. But he is a shooter. Obviously, we saw that. He can make some plays. He, in his EuroLeague time, 17 games for the Euro Cup, he averaged 13 points, 3.6 boards, shot 56% from three, which is crazy. He had 1.1 assists a game. Didn't have any steals or blocks, really. 32 games in the LNB Pro A League. He had 10 points a game, 3.8 boards, 35% from three. No steals or blocks, really, again. 0.09 assists a game. So I don't know if that's just a result of just playing time a little bit or who's on his team, I guess, as far as is he making a lot of assists. But you can see there the natural passing ability. He has it. But again, I just think that we don't need another 6'9" guy right now. We have JJ. We have some others who can play that position. I don't think that's going to be something that we look for when we really need a center at the end of the day. But I just wanted to throw it out there just in case you know how the Hawks do. Sometimes they do stuff like that. But Jordan, what's your opinion on Mr. Zachary?
Yeah, when you mention the numbers, it's kind of tricky with these guys playing in these EuroLeague games. A lot of times guys seem to play a lot based on seniority, and they just seem to play a lot of guys. That's why I like to look at the per 36-minute stats. On a per 36 minutes basis, he averaged 17.3 points, 6.2 rebounds, 1.4 assists, 1.3 steals, 0.7 blocks, 47% from the field, 38.8% from three. So very good shooter at 6'10", weighing in at 205 pounds. I like the kid. The more I've seen of him, he's grown on me. For example, in his quarterfinal playoff game in the French league, and that's the #1 league in France that he's playing in, he went off for a career high 28 points on 11 of 16 field goals in 29 minutes. The following 2 games after that, he scored a combined 39 points over those 2 games. So very good player, pure shooting type player, doesn't have a lot of wasted motion in his jump shot, as you saw there on the highlights. Pretty quick release, and is able to just get it off smoothly and accurately. I do like him as a player. I do think we have a need for another forward besides JJ, because I don't like DeAndre Hunter starting. Certainly,
I should take what I said back. Not at the #1 though, but we do need another forward.
I have a strong preference for Alex Sarr, but I would take this kid over Donovan Clingan. Just based on potential and just based on, I want to get the best possible ball player at the #1 pick. And I do think one of those 2 guys, either Sarr or Ricochet, will be the best player in this draft. And I do caution that some of the biggest mistakes in NBA draft history have been taking bigs over wings. Sam Bowie over Michael Jordan. Even you could even say, as good as he was, Akeem Olajuwon over Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? So I do think you have to take a hard look at it, but ultimately the potential of Sarr is too much for me to pass on. A 7'1" guy who can protect the rim, who can handle the ball, who can switch on defense and go to the perimeter, who can finish the lobs from Trae Young at a high rate. Can't imagine we'll see him missing a bunch of layups around the basket.
0 to 5 feet. He's going to shoot 77% at least, not 60.
Right. So I'm certainly in the Alex Sarr camp, but like I said, Ricochet has grown on me, and he is my #2 ranked prospect among the potential guys for the #1 pick.
So I'm gonna throw out one player. I'm not saying that we draft him #1. It's just that I hate that we don't have any other picks to where we have a chance to get him, because I just like this kid. Ron Holland, G League at night. I'm gonna show you his highlights, and we'll talk about him for a brief second. I'll say why I like him. If I can find his highlights now, all of a sudden. There it is.
Opening game on Wednesday, 4-15 from the floor, but you can tell he's settled in. Ron Holland, he led all scorers on Wednesday, 23 points, knocks down his first jump. He's the 20-year-old from Perth, misses everything. Outlet is Holland, spins away and lays it in off the glass.
I'm telling you, he reminds me.
And Wagstaff, the veteran in his 16th professional season, keeps the possession alive. But Holland, all alone, it's showtime!
He is a highlight film waiting to happen, that young man.
Team. There's Holland again, leading the break. It's a 4-on-2. Holland keeps it himself.
Tell me he doesn't remind you of Russell Westbrook, a poor man's Russell Westbrook. I mean, well, John, they can play. I mean, they don't have fear in their game. And that young man really...
Ron Holland from deep.
Opening up that period where international players could be drafted, it gave them an opportunity.
And so those players are now going to be playing on G League.
So that's just a little bit about Ron Holland. The reason I like this young man, 6'8", he averaged 20 points, 6.5 boards, 2.5 steals a game in G League. That 2.5 steals a game or more. There was one game he had 5 steals. He's on the ball. He ain't letting you do anything. 6'8", he has the wingspan and everything. That's what I'm looking at in regards to having a 3-and-D wing. Okay, so yeah, we can't get him, but I just like him. That's why I wanted to play his highlights. I don't know if we can do something. I don't know, find somebody like that, an undrafted free agent or something like that, and/or will we trade for somebody? I would love to get somebody like that. Any opinions on Ron? I know I just threw that out there, but anything on him?
Yeah, I don't know if I consider him 3-and-D yet because the 3 ball really hasn't been there, but his defense is outstanding. He's also a very fluid athlete, able to get to the basket. Like him as a prospect, I think if Travis Schlenk was still here, he'd be in serious contention to be the #1 pick because Travis Schlenk never drafted an international prospect this whole time here. So I think, him and Klingon will probably be the top 2 for us if Travis Schlenk was still here. But, unfortunately, even if we would have got a chance to keep that Sacramento pick, if they would have made the playoffs barely and made that pick like 15, I don't think he's going to make it to 15. I expect he'll go late in the top 10, 11 or 12 at the latest. So, definitely like the prospect, but I'm pretty much focused in on Sarr and Risha Shea right now.
Exactly. Now, just real quick, I want to do some brief, I don't even know what the word is right now, but thanks, first of all, again, for everybody watching so far and who will watch after the fact, after the live show. Definitely subscribe to the IMTN Worldwide Radio YouTube page. Really appreciate that if you could do that. Share it to some people as well. I didn't get a chance to do it, so I'm going to do it now. Make sure you get your season tickets for the Atlanta Vibe. I didn't get to put them up there on the screen. Make sure I include them. They had their first season this year. They were a good team. They just missed out on losing their first playoff game. They're a professional volleyball team in Atlanta who had the MVP of the league on their team, Leah Edmond. And I am trying to see if I can get an interview with her. So shout out to the Atlanta Vibe. I do want to, even though it is what it is, Atlanta United, again, they're in the dumps. Let's see, where are they? They're 12th in the conference currently. 13 points the whole season, only 3 victories. They only have 17 goals the whole season. Atlanta United used to compete, obviously. They do have a championship, obviously, but 2017, 2018, 2019, 2021, they were 5th or higher in the standings. Since then, not so good. Enter Miami, they were like 14th place the year before, and then they went and got Messi. And now they are in first place, 31 points. They're doing very well. So what do the Atlanta United have to do to get better? Does Arthur Blank need to go ahead and sell the team and just give up on that dream? I don't know, because it really hasn't gone well the last 4 or 5 seasons for the Atlanta United team. But it's just disappointing because they can't do anything to compete. And it's frustrating because we have the fans. We have the fan base. It was built up organically, but we just can't win no games. So any brief thoughts on Atlanta United before I go to the last segment, Jordan?
Oh, absolutely. Shout out to Atlanta United. What a huge win tonight. They beat Inter Miami tonight 3-1.
Oh, wow. Okay.
To snap a 9-match winless streak, to which they either lost or drew in every match for 9 matches. And they turn around and beat Inter Miami and the great Messier. So, maybe that'll get this thing turned around. Ultimately, though, I do think the Atlanta United is probably going to need a new coach. But one of the biggest problems with Atlanta United has been injuries this year. In particular, goal scorer Yorgos Yakamakis has been hurt most of this season, and that's been big. They've also had some of their other better players, their best setup guys. And forgive me if I can't recall everything right now, because I'll be honest with you, it's been so bad. I haven't been locked in on Atlanta United very much, but I was very pleased to hear that they won tonight. And in fact, if you get a chance, and I rarely direct you to do this, but go listen to the calls from Mike Conti tonight. He was so excited. He was as excited as
I might see if I can pull it and use it from now on for the radio show.
Yeah, he was so excited. He was as excited as I've heard him in a long time. So it was great to see Atlanta United get that win over Inter Miami tonight.
Well, appreciate the lookout on that one, because like I said, tonight was pretty difficult trying to get the show together with the radio thing, and so I couldn't really get everything like I wanted. So I appreciate the lookout for that. Like I said, guys, we go over all Atlanta sports, city of Atlanta and the state of Georgia. Atlanta United is one of our professional teams. That being said, we have one more I want to talk about. And then after that, if you want to review any of the things that we talked about tonight, make sure you hit up on the comment section. That's the Atlanta Dream. So this is a big year for the Dream as well. Now, last year they went 19-21, but I think they're looking to start contending at this point. For the 2024 draft, they drafted Nadia Pooch from Australia. She's 6'3". I think she gives the team length, which is something that they needed, especially in transition. She also has an outside jump shot. So as she grows with her experience, I think, she'll be a good piece for the team. So that being said, I actually have some highlights of her. If you don't know, we've been covering the Dream since we started around the ATL. We've had Angel McCautry, two-time Olympic gold medalist, on the show. We've had former head coach Nikki Collin on the show. We even had the team president of the Dream some years ago on the show as well. So let's see if I think I have her pulled up here somewhere. There it is. So let's watch Nadia a little bit, and we'll talk about tonight's game because the Dream actually won tonight as well.
Talbot on the counter-attack. Tried to find Bolace. Couldn't thread the needle. Rochi, Ernst, transition, 3-ball! Cole. Rochi and Blitzarv set to check in for Southside. Potch, great cut.
Again, no, great cut.
Comes Nadia Pooch. Australia's most exciting young talents, and you can see why right there.
But the focus still needs to be to keep boxing her out. Overall, though, she's pretty happy. She did say offensively they do need to make sure they're getting the ball inside and out.
Limping around the court, but she'll grit her teeth and gut it out. As you mentioned, she played through injury last year as well. Pooch with the strip and then the foul.
Just a few highlights of Nadia. Now, one thing I'm going to attribute to also the Hawks, what I always talk about, cutting to the basket. She has some good cuts to the basket there. When you cut to the basket, good things happen, right? So that's something that she's going to help out with the Dream in regards to just her speed, her length, and things of that nature, and being able to finish as well. The Dream right now are 3-2. They beat the Mystics tonight, 73-67. Ryan Howard had 11 and 4. Cheyenne had 10 and 9. Cheyenne Parker. Tina Charles had 17 and 15 tonight at center, which is big because they've needed a center for a long time now. Alicia Gray had 19. Haley Jones, the rookie, only had 2 points, but she had 4 assists in 17 minutes. And Ariel Powers had 12 off the bench. I believe the Dream, again, this season is going to be a big year for them. And we need a season for all the Atlanta teams just from how things have been going. But I think they're growing as a team. I mean, they did make the playoffs last year. So that's something, even with the 19-21 record. But I just think their growth as a team is going to be a big deal year after year. So I think we should be excited about them. Any thoughts in regards to the Dream, Jordan?
Good win for them tonight, despite the fact that they were playing the Mystics, who are now 0-7. Because Ryan Howard, the Dream star player, did not have a great game tonight. Only 2 of 11 from the floor, 0-6 from three-point range, and yet they were still able to get the win. So that's a positive sign. As you mentioned, Aaliyah Gray played great tonight. I think she's a big key with this team, how she goes. When she's shooting the ball well, they're hard to beat, and she has shot it well overall this season. Even though some of the games, the couple games they lost, she didn't shoot as well in one of them in particular. But she's been on fire in the games they've won. She's shooting just a shade under 46% from the field on the season, shooting 43%, just 42.9 to be exact, from three-point range. Strangely enough, though, only 60% from the free throw line, so that's definitely going to come up, as she's a career 83% free throw shooter. The other key, I believe, to the Dream season is the veteran pickup, Tina Charles. 8-time WNBA All-Star, 2012 MVP. So far, having a great season, averaging 13.3 points and 8 rebounds, shooting 48% from the field. So I think, that big three of Ryan Howard, Tina Charles, and Aaliyah Gray, that's going to be the key to how this team goes. And, of course, you're going to need your role players to step up around them and support them. But ultimately, those three are going to be the three that are going to carry the load for this team. and going to determine how far the Atlanta Dream go this season.
Let's not forget Coach Tanisha Wright. She's increased the win total the last couple of years from 14 her first year to 19 last year, making the playoffs for the first time since 2018. That's a big deal. Again, Around the ATL has been supporting the Dream since we started our show. By the way, their next home game is this Friday in Atlanta at 7:30, so you need to go and show up and support. That being said, we talked a lot about Atlanta sports tonight. Is there a particular team that y'all want to talk about for these last few minutes in the chat room? Jordan, any final thoughts that you have as we get ready to close the show?
My main final thoughts is this is one of the biggest off seasons in franchise history for the Atlanta Hawks. You got a chance to make or break your franchise this offseason. Landry Fields has an opportunity to either make or break his tenure as the general manager of the Atlanta Hawks. He needs to make the right decision, and it shouldn't be just about who we pick at number one. We need to rebuild this team. We need to reshape this team. Got to get Clint out of here. I would love to see DeAndre Hunter moved as well. I really am not interested in a $20 million bench player. They do say there's a guy that plays for the Utah Jazz on the trade block. A guy that people are quite familiar with here by the name of John Collins. I doubt very seriously he'll be back here, but I wouldn't mind it because I think we made a mistake by moving him instead of Hunter. I would love to see JC at one forward, Sarge center, and Jalen Johnson at small forward to give us a big front line across the board. And I think that will make us so much better defensively. Looking forward also to seeing Kongwu come back and be part of that front line as well. And like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be JC, but I'd love for us to get another good power forward. Play Jalen Johnson as a big small forward. And, if we don't get the proper deal for DeJounte, maybe we try it again with that backcourt, but with a big front line all the way across the board. Or maybe we do move DeJounte for Brandon Ingram or somebody of that type, skill level and just try to reshape the team around Trey. But to me, in my opinion, trading Trey Young should not even be a part of the conversation. I do not think the Hawks are considering it. I still stick by what I've always said. Trey Young will go nowhere until he has to go somewhere. Otherwise, he'll be here.
To follow up on some of that, I wouldn't mind if John was here because of what he does bring to the table. Again, you have some who say, well, he can't get his own shot. I'm like, there's a whole bunch of players in the NBA who supposedly can't get their own shot, but that's not basketball. Basketball is about being put in the best position to score the ball. Nobody was mad at Amari Stoudemire for getting all those buckets from Steve Nash. My goodness gracious, right? Or all the three-point shooters who also can't get their own shot, but somebody has to pass them the ball, right? So within that, guys, John Collins can hit a 15-foot jumper. He can hit a turnaround jumper. He can get to the basket a couple times. He doesn't need the tricky dribble and he doesn't need to be Kyrie Irving. You don't need 5 players on your team being Kyrie Irving getting to the basket. You need to be able to finish, though, when someone gets you the ball. That's the whole point of having assists. If everybody's trying to get their own shot and you have 10 assists for the game, you probably didn't win that game, right? It looks like we just lost Jordan there. So that's one thing I wanted to bring out. As far as Trey goes, again, if you want to watch the show I did last Thursday, it's called Around the ATL Side Notes, Trey Young. And you go watch that whole show. I went through all the missed games. Because, again, if the premise is the team is terrible only because of Trey Young and his defense, okay, here's Jordan back. If the premise is that the team loses games because of Trey Young and Trey Young alone, and he's the only one who's supposed to play defense and nobody else is accountable or responsible for playing defense, why weren't people shut down in the 28 games that we lost? That he wasn't playing. Because if you go and look, what I did was list all the games that he didn't play, and here's what the best 3 players on the other team did. How come they weren't shut down? How come Jaylen Brown and Tatum are still balling out of control? Or Spider over in Cleveland, and all these other players are just getting buckets galore, but Trey ain't there. That doesn't make sense if the whole point is Trey and only Trey. And again, the biggest example so far, watch the play-in game. We had no business losing that play-in game against the Chicago Bulls. Okay. Oh, that's what I said I was going to do. What time is it? Let's see if I can do this real quick. I'm going to see if I can find my notes and I can do it. Is this it right here? Give me a second. Here we go. So, game Chicago. Okay, here it goes. 13. Okay, so I'm going to do a few shots. I'm going to give you an example of what I did in that show. Hopefully you'll go back and watch it, but I'm going to show you a little bit of what I did. So I got to cue it up, though, before I start. So I'll go to the second quarter of the game. And I'm doing this off the fly, so just bear with me here. All right. So again, we gave up 42% in threes for that game, 72% in the paint. The three high scores for the Bulls was White with 42 points. He was 15 for 21 shooting. Vucevic had 24 points. He was 11 for 21 shooting. By the way, White, that's 71% he shot that game. Vucevic shot 52%, and DeRozan had 22 points, 10 for 19 shooting, 52 points. On our team, Bogey was 8 for 18 for 21. Hunter was 3 for 16, 8 points. Clint was 11. He had a good game, 11 for 15, 22. DJ 11 for 21 for 30. Trey didn't shoot well, but he got to the line. He had 10 assists. Garrison was 2 for 8, and Bruno was 2 for 3, and that's it. All right. So let me go to the second quarter. I showed y'all a couple of shots from the first quarter, but I'm trying to find the second quarter. There it is. First shot. Oh, that's the third quarter.
Real quick, while you're pulling that up, I just want to give a shout out to that Georgia Bulldog and Atlanta native Anthony Ant-Man Edwards. He's had a great run in this postseason. Congratulations to him for not laying down and allowing them to get swept. It does look like this playoff run will come to an end for him soon, but I've enjoyed it, and we look forward and we're waiting on you to come home to the Atlanta Hawks in a few years, sir.
Appreciate that shout out. You never know. You never know. You never know. Right? All right. So here's the first shot of the second quarter for the Chicago Bulls.
Here's Murray elevating, can't hit. Javonte Green got a hand on it. DeSumu's pull-up three, he got it.
That's the first shot made, by the way. So Murray, you saw, missed the shot. It was a fast break. Bogey and Hunter are back. Ayo has the ball. He runs to the three. Bogey doesn't stop the ball, doesn't come up to force him to hold up for the rest of his teammates, and Ayo shoots a wide open three. But let's blame that on Trey, right? Just saying. Here's the second shot that the Chicago Bulls made in the second quarter.
Here's White turning the corner, whips it to DeRozan. You bet.
White brings the ball up. DJ is on him. Vooch picks him off. Bruno could have hashed, but he didn't. Murray could have hopped over the pick, but he didn't. So now Bruno is on White. Wes is in the paint for some reason. Did you see that? When White turns the corner, instead of Hunter coming up and forcing man to pass it, he could contest it as well. Instead, of course, White passes across the court to a wide open DeRozan because, again, Wes is in the paint and he hits a wide open three. But let's blame Trey on that one too, even though Trey wasn't even on the floor on that one. Let's blame Trey. All right. So here's the third shot of the second quarter for the Chicago Bulls. I'm going to describe it like I did on my show. So Vucevic, again, the theme of the game is at the top of the key. Murray has DeRozan in this case. Hunter is on Green. Vooch gets around Clint. Okay. Wes again is in the paint, not guarding anybody. All right. But he steps up as Vooch shoots. Since Clint is still trying to catch up to his man, Vucevic gets a tip out to DeRozan. Okay. He was wide open at that moment because Murray had left him. After the tap, Trey sees DeRozan open. He runs to him. Right. Then he tries to change direction to White because now DeRozan is trying to get it to White. DJ does come up to rotate to help out, but now Ayo cuts in with the dribble drive. West is still not guarding anybody. Hunter is supposed to be on Green, but he shades over to DeRozan, which guess what? Leaves Green wide open. So here's the play. Third shot of the second quarter.
Vucevic, the floater won't go, keeps it alive. DeRozan didn't take the three. Great breakdown from White. Green connects. Gorgeous possession and reload from Chicago.
But blame Trey on that one too. Okay. So again, this is just we gave 42% from three. So I want to give you. Let me see if I can find one real quick. The 72 points in the paint. Oh, here's the fifth shot. This is a good one.
Green dumps it in. Vucevic spins and finishes.
I mean, I don't even want to play it again. Okay, I should, but I'm not. But on that one, again, DeRozan's at top. West has him. Vooch comes to set a screen, and again, for some reason, Clint comes out to double DeRozan, leaves his man. Vooch, of course, goes to the basket. Murray can't stop him, but let's blame Trey on that as well. Okay, but that's another point in the paint. And they did that over and over and over again, and Clint kept helping, leaving his man open and making mismatches on the floor. And that is just one of my points, is that you need all five players that are starting or all five players that are coming off the bench to all do their jobs at the same time to stop the other 10, 12 players on the other side. You can't ever blame one player for not playing defense if you're not going to play defense either, because that's your job. And I always talk about this on my Sunday Night Basketball videos. If I get switched on Allen Iverson, I got to stick Allen Iverson until we can switch back, or I got to stop Allen Iverson from scoring. That's my new job now. I can't make the blame, oh, well, he's faster than me and I don't got the foot speed because this guy is 20 years younger than me because I'm in my late 40s. I got to stop you. You see what I'm saying? And so, again, to keep trying to throw the guys out there that the whole season is because of Trae Young and his defense is just not true. And when I do the rest of the games, because I'm doing all the games of 2023, all of our losses, okay, I'm going to go shot for every team that we played to show here's the points in the paint that we gave up. Here's the second pass points. Here's the three-point percentage that we gave up, fast break points. How can you attribute all of that to one player when you got 12 other players on the court every night that's actually giving up most of it? Trey's man is not giving up 42 points a game every game, y'all. Not even half the games. And that's I guess what my point is. You can't just say something to hope it stick when it's just not true.
It's just ridiculous, though, because, I mean, like, for example, the narrative that our defense is bad because everybody's got to help Trey. Trey is usually guarding a standstill shooter if there's one on the other team. I haven't seen our defense being rotated to stop Duncan Robinson, for example, from driving to the basket. That's just not true. It's a false narrative. And like I said, a lot of this is groupthink. It's follow the leader because you got these publications like The Ringer and some of these other publications that down Trey. Then next thing you know, the guys on our own official station of the Hawks chime in because that's where they get their opinions from and start downing Trey. And then some of the fans join in right along with it. And it's ridiculous. Cut it out. The man is one of the best offensive players in the NBA, one of the best offensive talents at a young age in NBA history. And he plays hard on defense. He was one of the team leaders in drawing charges, second on the team in charges drawn per game. He's in the top three guys on the team in deflecting passes. The guy goes after steals and shoots the passing lane. He's not the issue. We know he's not a great defender. We know his role is not to lock down a great scorer. How about the guys whose roles it is to do that?
Oh, you mean like Hunter?
DeJounte Murray, actually guard somebody and actually stop somebody. How about the guy whose role it is to protect the rim, Clint Capella, actually protect the rim? Never mind. get up out of here.
Well,
We'll
the
get
thing of
somebody
it
else
is,
to
like I
protect us.
said, Hunter has the ability to do it, but 5 seasons, he's not been first, second team all defense. He doesn't rebound for his position. He doesn't get any steals or blocks for his position. He doesn't get one block a game. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, how is everybody else, like DJ
Doesn't
and
get
Trey,
any
get more
assists
skills
either.
than Hunter do? By the way, and I'm only going to go through this real quick, John Concack has more steals than Hunter does. Tree Rollins has more steals than Hunter. He has like 450 steals in his career. Hunter has 174. That tells you where Hunter is not on defense, but nobody gets mad at him for not stopping the highest scoring guy on the other team. Because Trey is not supposed to stop Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. That's supposed to be Hunter.
You got to slow them
You know
down
what
at
I'm saying?
least, man. You got to make them work. You got to make them less efficient. And that's not, what Hunter does. No great scorer is coming into that game being like, well, it's going to be a tough night for me tonight because DeAndre Hunter's guarding me. Just like nobody. I mean, nobody in the world driving the basket.
White had a lot of layups in that
Just
Chicago
like nobody
game.
in the
See another
world.
one?
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna
Just
show
like
another
nobody
one.
in the world is afraid to drive the basket because Clint Capella's down there. They just don't fear him at all.
Well, here's another layup right here.
Proud player that he is today, and he now feels certain his name should be brought up in discussions as, quote, a real deal player for his class. And guys, he made a leap this season as he did right there, getting the bucket.
That kept happening, and nobody stopped him. I can go through the whole thing, but I would rather y'all go and watch it for yourself. It's going to be the show that's before this one, around the ATL side notes, Trey Young. And at the end of the show, probably like around the 1 hour 20 mark, I start going shot for shot for the play-in game. And for the rest of the next couple of weeks, I will be going back on all of the Hawks losses and going through each shot of the opposing team, as well as listing points in the paint given up, second chance points. I mean, if you just look at the second chance points that the Hawks gave up just because of that as well. Here's another one. I think this is second shot, third quarter. This is Vucevic again. Vucevic had 24 points, y'all. I mean, y'all got to be – somebody has to be mad about that. I don't know why nobody's mad about that, but here's the second shot, third quarter, I believe, if I got this right.
For Young, and the pinky are still together, but the rest of the wrap, as you notice, Richard, is totally gone. Here's Dosunmu, 3 to shoot. Shovels underneath. Vucevic lays it in.
But I guess Trey was supposed to come all the way down there, get Clint out the way, and Trey was supposed to block that shot, I guess. I don't know. But again, this is a theme for that game, but it's a theme for the season because, again, we keep overhelping. Again, that's something that has to be stopped. That has to be something adjusted, and we don't have that coach defensively on the bench, whoever is responsible, to stop that. If we could just stop that, we'd be better. But again, if you don't have that, you got to have players who are just better at the defensive end as far as, again, defense is 2 things, effort, okay, and technique. You got to know what you're doing. It's a knowledge thing. And if you don't have that, you got to be able to get it. And the whole definition of a 3-and-D wing, you got to be able to play some defense, and we don't have that on our team currently right now. And again, at the top of it on the center side, we don't have a deterrent. We just don't. Our points in the paint every night. When we lose these games, we have 60, 70 points in the paint. Go look at the tape. The tape will tell you everything you need to know. So that being said, y'all, Jordan, any other final thoughts as we going to sign off here?
Keep Trey Young. That's my final thought. There's no reason to trade that man unless he has to go. Continue to build his team around him. And one of the most ridiculous things that people are suggesting quite frequently, both media as well as people calling into these shows, is that we just go ahead and tear the whole thing down and rebuild. Ladies and gentlemen, the San Antonio Spurs have our draft pick this upcoming draft unprotected. They have the rights to swap picks with us the year after that, unprotected. Then they have the following draft pick after that, unprotected. You cannot rebuild a team and tear down and give San Antonio high draft picks and help build the next San Antonio Spurs dynasty around Wemby. When you made that trade for DeJounte Murray, it doesn't mean you have to keep Murray, but it does mean you committed to trying to win around Trey Young for the next 3 seasons after, going forward. So we need to maximize our abilities. Landry Fields needs to make the best possible deals and sign the best possible guys with the resources he's given. We need to find a way to bring somebody in here with the John Collins trade exception before it expires on July 7th. We need to use the mid-level exception this year to bring in a player that can help. If for nothing else, you could use that guy's trade bait and get another player in at the deadline, like Dallas did by signing Grant Williams away from Boston with the mid-level exception, and then flipping him in a pick to get P.J. Washington, who have helped them tremendously down the stretch. If the Dallas Mavericks can miss their play-in altogether and be in the Western Conference Finals now, as tough as the West has been this year compared to the East, then by any means, it is not impossible for the Hawks to go from being put out in the play-in to being in the Eastern Conference Finals next year, or maybe even the NBA Finals. Unfortunately, it's unfortunate it wasn't this year, because this year it was there for the taking. I mean, Boston is the only one of the high-powered teams that made it through. Ended up having to play the Pacers of all teams in the Eastern Conference Finals, so that's a missed opportunity there. But we can grasp that opportunity next season if we make the right moves. Landry Fields, you are on deck, sir. Is your time. You either do it or get up out of here, one or the other.
Well, really, it's Tony, because he's the one who keeps saying he's spending money, and he keeps lying. He's in print saying it, and he keeps lying, and that's holding things up too. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting how this pans out. But again, we're right. We could be right there on the cusp, and we just continue to do the opposite of what all the successful teams are doing. And I just don't understand why the Hawks organization think they're so much better than everybody and just won't do sensible things and continue to do the opposite. We, since the 60s, as the Atlanta Hawks organization, have 2 appearances in the ECF. That's it. That can't be acceptable. You see what I'm saying? It's like, come on, let's do something. So again, thanks for everybody for watching the show today, for all the different Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, of course, Twitter, and everything like that. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube page for IMTN Worldwide Radio. It's much appreciated. Share it with other people who enjoy Atlanta sports talk. You can follow on Facebook or Instagram, IMTN Worldwide Radio. Make sure you follow myself and Jordan on Twitter. You can see Intellect ATL and Jordan 23 ATL right there on Twitter. Make sure if you get a chance, put it out there. Again, the show is sponsored by my company, IMTN Worldwide Images. Go visit the website. If you know somebody who needs photos for business and or entertainment, I'm your man. I can travel as well. You can also follow me on IMTN Worldwide Images 1 on Instagram. And again, one more time, before I get out of here, I want to say again, rest in peace, Mr. Eddie Carswell. He was a really, really good person. He loved his sports. He loved Atlanta. He loved Trae Young, which is why I did last week's show. Go watch it. It's very detailed, but I think he would have got a kick out of that. But he will be missed in the community, all over the state of Georgia for sure. So if you know his family, definitely keep him in your prayers and thoughts and things of that nature. Jordan, you want to go ahead and close us out as usual?
Yeah, just a couple quick shout outs. Shout out to Jamal Price. Shout out to John Harris, a frequent caller in the show. I imagine we may have heard from him tonight if we could have had the call-in show like we planned. Also, shout out to Damon Thomas, a Luka super fan and closet Mavs fan.
now we're starting something now.
With that being said, thank you everybody for listening to us. Oh, shout out to all of Atlanta Sports, Hawks Twitter, and all of Atlanta Sports Twitter. With that being said, everybody, thank you for listening to us live, and thank you for all of those who will be listening to this after the fact when it's posted on Twitter. on YouTube and the various places it'll be posted. And last but not least, I want to thank God for giving me this breath that I breathe to talk about these Georgia sports that I love. Peace up. A-Town down, baby.
Before I hit the intro or the outro, don't forget that we've had a lot of interviews on Around the ATL. I do urge everybody that after this show, go back and watch some of the old shows. We've had Bob Rathman, the television voice of the Atlanta Hawks, Steve Holman, the radio voice of the Atlanta Hawks, Dominique Wilkins. Well, we've had the whole broadcast team on the show. Jerome Durinovich, the host of Hawks Live, has been on the show, as well as Braves Live. We've had Marvin Freeman on the show, former Atlanta Braves pitcher. We've had Rashad Yoda, the draft guru, on the show. So we've had a lot of different people. Tanitra Batiste, broadcaster for the Atlanta Hawks and the Atlanta Dream as well. So we've had a lot of people on the show. So go back and watch.
The lovely Jamila Johnson. He can't get
Jamila, I almost forgot Jamila.
He can't get me with the sounder now, y'all.
Oh man, see, we gotta fix that. I'm gonna sue that company. But yeah, we've had so many people on the show. So if you've never really seen the show, please give us a chance. We're going to be trying to get back regular. We've been offline for a while. That's why I started the side notes. So definitely give us a chance. We love talking about Atlanta sports, but we break stuff down. We don't just say stuff to be saying it. If you notice that's a theme for us. We don't just be saying stuff to be saying it just for the sake of saying it. We say stuff that we can back up with proof, evidence, stats, figures. It actually happened. You know what I'm saying? So again, definitely go back and watch Around the ATL Side Notes featuring Trae Young. It's a 3-hour episode, so make sure you go through that. I go through everything about Mr. Trae Young. But we appreciate everybody. We're going to get out of here for now. Hopefully we'll see more of y'all next time. Till then, y'all take care.